King of my life, I crown thee now. Thine shall the glory be. Lest I forget thy thorn crowned brow. Lead me, Jesus, to Calvary. Lest I forget how you prayed on Gethsemane in the garden. And lest I forget how you suffered your agony on Calvary.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. Good morning. You have joined Coach Sherry, Chaplain Sherry, your community pastor Sherry from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue in 40 days to the cross. A 40-day journey to the cross during this Lenten season, as we are walking with Jesus, as we are tracing the steps of Jesus to the cross, as we think about his steps and how so much of his steps mirror our own steps. During this 40-day journey, we are looking at ourselves. We are entering into times of meditation, introspection, and observation as we look at the journey of Jesus as he is experiencing grief, sorrow, conflict, abandonment, isolation. We decided early on that we were going to look at things that we needed to start or stop. But at the end of the 40 days, we didn't want to pick those things up again. We didn't want to pick up those things again. So unless things like candy was messing with your diabetes or something like that, eat all the candy you want. If you are not making a decision to follow the ways of Jesus and to pick up healthy spiritual practices for longevity, don't even bother. Eat all the candy you want. Watch all the TV you want. Look at all the social media channels that are available. Perhaps you need to start or stop something that is really hindering you from being all that God wants you to be. From hindering you from having the peace of God. You may have peace with God, but not the peace of God. Good morning, Joyce. I am so glad that you have found me this morning. We are a bit late. Well, later, because remember, this is a late start date for me, and next week, Mondays and Wednesdays, we will be back on track. Well, good morning on this 24th. It is the 24th day of Lent. Can you believe we are on day 24? I am sorry. Please scratch that. It is the 25th day of Lent. It is the 25th day of Lent. It is the 25th day of Lent. I am sorry. I got that wrong. It is the 25th day of Lent. And guess what we are fasting from on this 25th day of Lent? We are fasting from denial. We are fasting from denial. We are fasting from refusing to call a thing a thing. We are decreasing in denial, and we are increasing in being honest with ourselves and calling a thing when it comes to our feelings and what's really going on with us. Unfortunately, I don't know if y'all did this up north or in the west or wherever you're from, but down here when your mamas whooped you, when the folk whipped you, they'll tell you, stop all that crying before I give you something to cry about. Well, you already gave me something to cry about. Why can't I express that this is hurting me? Why can't I express my real feelings? We have not done a good job of saying how we really feel. I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm glad, I'm happy, I'm exuberant, whatever that thing is. We've been told to just simply deal with it. On this 25th day of Lent, Jesus is calling a thing a thing. We are fasting from denial. Jesus says in the Garden of Gethsemane, and we get to not my will, but your will be done. We get real quick to that. But today I want us to stop at the part where Jesus says, my soul is deeply grieved. My soul is deeply grieved. In some versions it says, I'm overwhelmed with sorrow. I'm in Matthew 26. The whole thing about, good morning, Marquita. Starting with Matthew 26:36, Jesus went into a place called Gethsemane. Now we understand that a garden is supposed to be this place where we can go and enjoy the beauty, the flowers, and just be at peace. Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane. And while in Israel, I had an opportunity to go to the Garden of Gethsemane, a beautiful setting. But Jesus goes into this garden and he takes some disciples with him. He takes, the text says that he takes Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. Now Peter is there. Now that's real important. We'll talk about that as the days go. But he says in verse 38, I am deeply grieved even to the point of death. That there is an intense pain that's permeating my mind, my body, and my spirit because I know what is about to happen. Let's just stay there a minute. Don't get to the point. I don't want you to get to the point about not my will. We know that, but we don't know how long it took for Jesus to get to that point. He says that my soul is overcome. I am deeply grieved to the point of sorrow, to the point of death. In other words, this grief, my soul is troubled. I'm overwhelmed with this feeling that it is about to take me out. Have you ever had a feeling that you are grieved something, an intense emotion of pain that is in your chest, that is in your gut? He goes into Gethsemane, and get this, Gethsemane gets its name from that which means all presses. All presses. Think of an olive being pressed for the oil to come out. Jesus is in a place where he is pressed. He says, my soul is deeply grieved. My soul is troubled. My soul is sorrowful. Have you ever been there? Remember, we're fasting from denial. Call a thing again. In fact, I dare you to exercise right now the privilege of aligning yourself with Jesus by stating a feeling that you have right now. Put it in the comment section. Are you happy, sad? Are you worried? Are you joyful? What is that feeling that you have? Jesus says, listen, I'm modeling for you what it means to call a thing. Jesus is experiencing what we call anticipatory grief. He is grieving not only what is, but what he knows to come. So, an example of this, an example of anticipatory grief that you may be able to wrap your head around. Good. Thank you, Joyce. May God allow you to keep that feeling of joyfulness throughout this day. So, imagine if you or someone you love got a diagnosis, a terminal illness that said that there is a 3-month prognosis. So the diagnosis is what you have. The prognosis is how long you have before this disease causes death. You begin to grieve not only the diagnosis, but the prognosis. You go in anticipatory grief because you are grieving what is to come, as if it already was. Good morning, Sylvia. So glad to see you this morning. We are fasting from denial. Jesus was grieving. He says, my soul is deeply troubled. Even though he knows the work that he has been doing is leading him to death, and he understands that it's his assignment. Listen, Jesus says, I know all of that, but what I need you to do, God, is get me out of this. I don't want to do it. I understand that somebody has to do it, but I don't want to do it. Get somebody else to do it. Good morning, Felicia. Jesus, let's be honest. We talk about he never said a mumbling word. No, Jesus had a whole lot of words that he said. I don't want to do this. The cost is too great for me. I don't want to do it. He is in a preparatory period of grieving. Consider the weight of Jesus' word choice. He says to be sorrowful in one translation, which speaks of grief, distress, vex, and pain. Trouble was chosen to reflect that he had deep anxiety. Jesus? Yes. You can't be human and divine and not experience the humanness and the feelings of being human. He says, I'm vexed by this. This is about to take me out. I don't want to do it. I understand it has to be done. I understand that you have called me to do it. But listen, I've done everything you've told me to do. But this right here is too much for me. It says that in the Luke version that Jesus prayed so to get out of this that it was like drops of blood. Sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. That's how intense Jesus prayed to get out of this. Listen. I'm going to just talk about me. Because maybe y'all not ready to call a thing a thing. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard because we don't often treat people. We try to rush past what people are telling them when they tell you, listen, this is too much for me. And so we keep it bottled up. And we don't talk about it. And we end up in the hospital, because much of what is happening to us in our soul often comes out in our bodies. We'll deal with it one way or another. We'll drink it out, smoke it out, sex it out, eat it out. We'll do something to make this pain go away. Only Jesus, the Father and the Holy Spirit, understood the unspeakable cost that Jesus would pay. Jesus understood it. He says, listen, I don't want this. I understand all these, that I was born for this and you called me from the foundation of the world. I understand that, I've been doing this work, but this right here, this is a little bit too much for me. I don't want this. What am I trying to tell you? I'm simply trying to say that there are things that are unbearable for us. That is just too much for us. That it grieves us to the point of sicknesses, disease in our bodies. So this is why I tell people, hear me, that when people lash out at you, it's not always because they are just being donkeys. That they are just mean for no reason. Sometimes people lash out at those who are closest to them because they have no other place that they can place their real feelings. And so it comes out in anger. It comes out in saying things that we wish we had never said. And it's really not about you, even though it comes toward you. But they have not found another way to get what is really happening to them out. It doesn't mean that it didn't hurt you. It doesn't mean that it didn't sting. It just simply means that, as Lady Felicia Howell says, every action has a root. And if we could step back and not lash out at the lashing out, it will de-escalate some stuff. So on this 25th day of Lent, we are fasting from denial. Jesus did not try to deny his emotions in the garden, but instead he expressed them honestly, respectfully, and repeatedly. He pleaded with God 3 times for the cup to pass it, for the cup of death, for the cup of bitterness. Who wants to go through this? Do you think that I signed up to say, God, just bring it on? Even though I know I must do the work that God has sent me to do? Who wants to do this? Honesty is a friend of intimacy with God. If you're angry with God, say that. If you're mad with God, say that. Say it. God can handle it. But what happens is, because our theology has said you shouldn't be angry with God, or I'm not angry with God, what we do is we take it out on other people. But your real problem is that you're angry with God, because you feel that God has not come through in a way that you wanted God to come through. Y'all ain't ready for me this morning. I got time today. I got a little time today. I'm just trying to help us out today. I'm just really trying to help us out today. On this 25th day of Lent, as Jesus has made a pivotal turn of talking to his disciples or teaching, there ain't no more parables, there ain't no more miracles getting ready to happen, there ain't no more teachings getting ready to happen. It's on and popping. It's on and popping right now. It's on and popping right now. Everything from this point forward, Jesus is headed to the cross. On this 25th day of Lent, we are not hiding who we are. We are not hiding our feelings. From Jesus' example, it is clear that the calling comes with a cost. And there are times when the cost is too much to bear. But the cost of not doing it is even greater. Jesus finally gets to the point to say, not my will, but your will be done. In the end, we know that Jesus was victorious. We understand that Jesus completed the assignment. But what I want us to do this morning, this day, whenever you are listening to this, is to understand that before Jesus got to let your will be done, Jesus says, listen, I really don't want to do this. If it's got to be done, let somebody else do it. You know I'm with you, God. You know I'm with you, Father. I have done everything else you told me to do. But this right here is a bit much. My soul is deeply grieved. I am overcome and overwhelmed with sorrow. On this 25th day of Lent, we are fasting from denial. We are decreasing in denial, and we are increasing in calling a thing a thing. Y'all be blessed, and may all be well with your day.